What if I told you that you might not be able to retire ever? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Many people have stated that at 65 they want to retire. They're going to have X number of dollars. It's going to last them well beyond their lifetime, and they could pass on the rest to their children. But for so many people, they are starting to realize that is not the case at all. I'm going to show you the data which supports this, and then I'm going to show you how many people are retiring anyway. Something fishy is going on. Let's get into it right here and now. Just over half of Americans over the age of 65 are earning under $30,000 a year, and it shows how stark the retirement crisis is. So for many people, they have said, I don't ever want to retire. I want to keep working, and I think that's fantastic. I think you should always want to work, stay active. Mentally, it's better as well. But for so many people, what they find is they actually have a problem by the time they get to these time frame where they have a person to take care of. They absolutely cannot work because of their own health, because of a family member's health, and the financial circumstances change rapidly like this. Do you know someone, maybe it's yourself, maybe it's a family member, or someone that you know in general that have dealt with these circumstances? I'm sure you probably do, because I know myself, so many where the spouse, they were able to work physically, but now they had to be the caretaker. This is a very unfortunate circumstance, of course, and many people think, no, that's not going to happen, but unfortunately it does a lot. And that is for the financial side of it, we'll stay with the financial side of it, this becomes a big burden. Sharp uptick in early retirements. The number of estimated excess retirees surged in late 2023. And this really started, you could see this, excess retirees, it's up, it's down, all these things since the financial crisis, all of that. But as soon as 2020 came around, people just started to retire. And you have to start putting the puzzle pieces together. Some would say this is because they couldn't do it anymore. And others said, hey, I was able to make a lot of money in 2020, and there it was. Suddenly, I could retire. What do you think it is here? Is it a mixed bag? Excess retirees, you can see the actual retirements versus the predicted. So it went way above the trend line. Many more people were retiring than were expected to. A generation ago, one popular song implored workers to tell their bosses to take their job and shove it. Judging from how many Americans are choosing retirement, millions are taking that advice. The great retirement boom. Can you believe this? It goes against a lot of the data that we have seen, right? People are struggling. We got 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs. There are also people that are simply using the equity in their homes in order to basically find themselves in an early retirement. Hey, I got all this cash here. I got savings in a sense. So I am going to be able to retire. That's a big thing. But what about the stock market as well? You see, that boost that was had in 2020. What was that big thing that occurred? Yes, the stock market went up, but more importantly, real estate went up. And real estate went up a lot. You see, because the stock market, it did go up, it came down, it went up. It depends on the stocks you were in. Then in 2022, they went down. But one thing which has done persistently well, for the most part, has been real estate. And so that could be the ATM the retirees have been looking for. Could be the case, right? What about this? Stocks are popular inflation hedge for future retirees. We asked, how are you protecting your retirement savings from inflation? 46% of them said, I'm adding more stocks. I'm adding more stocks. Only 6% said I'm adding more gold. You see the difference there? They're saying stocks are going to be the inflation hedge for me. That's what people are doing with their retirement savings. What do you think of that? Is that prudent advice? The income needed to comfortably afford a home in the US has leapt 80% since 2020, far exceeding a 23% increase in median income over the same period. Now, you got a problem here. You've got a problem here when now you want to get into the market, it's higher. So this supports us. We already knew this anyway. The fact that these people who probably bought their homes, if they're retiring now, they bought their homes for, their original home, and they probably traded up, 30,000. Maybe the home that they bought, let's say 20 years ago, was a couple 100,000. And now it's potentially worth $1 million, $2 million, depending on what city you live in. So of course they can use that like an ATM and retire. Now that would change in a heartbeat if there was some sort of catalyst to bring down the financial system and take residential real estate with it. We don't have that yet, although the banks are dealing with some problems. That's more on the commercial real estate side. And so they feel very confident. So they're walking out the door. They're saying, boss, I'm going to take the money and run. Major U.S. metros where household income must be $150,000 plus. 6 of the areas with the highest income needed are in California. Not surprising, really. And so you look at this and understand that, okay, if they're living there, then they still need to keep their incomes high. But if they can move to a much more affordable location, then they could retire on that cash. They could simply sell the property, rent it out, who knows, do a reverse mortgage maybe do a cash out refinance. There are many options. And so there are any number of things that we could assume here. Housing Affordability Index, we know that it's way down. I mean, it's ridiculous, in fact, because the prices are super high, but interest rates, mortgage rates are also excessively high. And you put 2 and 2 together, and you get a bad combo when it comes to affordability. But if you're already in and you bought your home in 1972 for, $26,000, oh, you're good. Yeah, you're doing real good right now. You can thank the Federal Reserve for that inflation. Now, that's what we have for retirees. What can you do? Well, if you are looking at this right now, or maybe it's in the horizon, you've got to do a few things. Number one, you've got to plan for a rainy day. You got to make this assumption that in between today and the time when you finally go to greener pastures, that there's going to be a crisis. There's going to be something that's going to happen, right? We know that. And so are you prepared for that? That's what most people don't. They basically just say, okay, 7% a year. I'll calculate 7% a year or 10% a year. Okay, all right, good. So if I just extract this much per year, it's going to go down just a little bit. Okay, over time, but hey, 7 to 10% a year, I'm good. You have to assume at some point, whether it's next year, whether it's in 10 years or 15 years or whatever it is, at some point there's going to be a major deflation that destroys values for a period of time. What comes back up on that other side, we don't know. We really don't know. So just keep that in mind and always hedge your bets. I say that all the time. And of course, diversify your holdings, especially when you're looking at wealth preservation. If that's what you're trying to do, then having some diversity, I'm not saying go wild on it, but having some diversity among your investments is going to help over a very long period of time. Ray Dalio calls this the all-weather portfolio. You can also look at it being risk parity, but ultimately, over many, many decades, this is the winning strategy, okay? And that's how we can sleep better at night. This is the thing that most people should do. At least think about that with a portion of your assets. I hope this was beneficial to you. If you want to know the strategies for how to look at this in depth, well, then you got to join my Finance Friday crew. This is the ultimate thing. I help people every single Friday for 2 hours. If you're interested in some details, link in the description below. Hit that thumbs up. And as always, I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care.